Sup nerds, I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
We're Nevermore Gaming, and we're taking a look at the Heroes and Hexes expansion for the quest for El Dorado.
As the name implies, Heroes and Hexes adds heroes and hexes to the quest for El Dorado.
If you haven't seen our thoughts on this game yet, make sure you click the card, go over, watch that first, find out how much we hate this game. We love this game. Find out how much we like this game, and then come back over here and then watch this review. Watch them in order. It makes a lot more sense that way.
Because we're not going to tell you about the base game at all. The Heroes and Hexes. Heroes are these really cool cards that you can get. There's a new tiny little location that you add onto the board that you can go in and spend a coin to one time per game. You flip over 3 of these cards, which have different heroes on them, all with completely unique abilities. And you just choose one. It goes straight to your hand, and now you have this one really awesome card to use throughout the game. And this would be very similar to other deck builders where there's always that oh, I want that really powerful card. And in the base game, there was one thing that we had kind of said. It's like, okay, you have these cards you can buy, and once those are sold out, you can buy from the other market, and then they fill up. So there's always a certain card you can buy. This is more like the typical deck builder nowadays, that there's a variety of cards, and they're all different, they're all unique, they have special abilities. So
and only you are going to have that card.
Yeah, so that's really cool.
If you're playing with the Heroes module, buy a hero. The first game we played with it, I was like, well, they're wasting all their time getting over there to buy a hero. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to race to the end. And it was a very, very bad idea. The hero cards are super powerful, and they're not ridiculous, but they are broken if someone has one and you don't. Mm-hmm. And again, it's my fault for not buying one, but it put me at such a disadvantage. So if you're playing with the Heroes module, do whatever it takes to get there and buy a hero.
It also adds a little familiar. Everybody will start with a familiar, which is a slightly unique starting card. Very basic. They're not powerful, but they are good. And so Frank right here, he has one of each type of the resources for moving. So you can use them for pretty much anything, or you can discard him from the game and call him to bump that up to 2. So they're all really powerful like that. Leroy is normally just a strength of 2 machetes, but you can discard him for 4. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's just a little minor thing they add.
You almost don't even notice it. You could have that in the base game. It's just throwing a little extra spice there to make the game unique. They also add the Hexes module, which you have to play with the caves to use the hexes. And there are new hex spaces on the board. And every time you move through a hex space, you get a hex. And some spaces have multiple hexes on them, so you could go through here and get 2 hexes for going through that space. These are all really, really, really bad. Also the first game, I was well, I'm just going to run through the hexes. How bad can they be? Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah, there's ones that allow other players to move you, so they get to move you 2 spaces.
There's some that let everyone else move a space. It's if you are stunned, so it can really help other players traverse their, oh man, I'm stuck in a spot that needs 3 ore to get through, and I have to go buy a card to get there. It's going to be a while until I can afford to buy that card. Nope, now they just boop, because you messed up.
One of the worst ones I feel is the curse card. You actually have to get one of these cards, put it into your deck, so now you're going to have this dead card. It's like a scar or a wound. Yeah, depending on the flavor of game you're playing.
Yeah. And the reason you have to play with the Caves expansion is there are a whole lot new caves that deal with curses. So there are some that let you cancel out a curse and say, okay, well, I'm going to get rid of that one now. And so it lets you move through those cave spaces. But also a lot of the caves the curses you get don't let you play the cave tiles.
One of the curses is you can't play cave tiles until you discard a cave tile. So you're
yeah.
Well, you'd have to get cave tiles. Yeah, there's curses that you can't play cards until a certain card.
Discard a certain card or something.
So it definitely adds a little bit of it'll kind of slow people down if they're trying to go through. You don't have to ever cross a curse.
Yeah.
The hexes, they're out of the way. It's just some of them are just it's kind of like a power move to use them because you can teleport. There's caves that you teleport from one to the other.
Yeah.
But you're gonna take a hex for going into it. And then when you teleport to the matching one, you take 2 more 2 more of these curses. So it's is it worth it to jump this gap? Well, maybe.
Yeah, the other reason why you might want to do it is you don't have to play any cards to move through the cursed spaces. So you're like, okay, well, I really want to get to here so that next turn I can try to do this. So I'm going to risk the curse so that I don't have to play a card to move here. So, it's definitely weigh them out. I don't think you want to just avoid them at all costs. But, like, don't be like, all right, I'm going to move through these 4 hex spaces and then teleport. So I'm taking 5 curses this turn. Like, that's a really bad idea.
I really like this expansion. It definitely ramps up the difficulty. If you like more difficult, more thinky, strategy in your deck builders, like, well, now the strategy of, like, what route you're going to take has changed a lot. Like, you're like, okay, do I avoid it, or do I go head on, take those curses, and then, try and remedy them later? If you end up getting the one that's just like, oh, people get to move, I mean, it does kind of stink, but it's not that bad. It's like, okay, everybody moved 1 space. As long as I'm making up a big enough distance by using these, like, okay.
Yeah, it's really great. This is not one of the expansions that I would just leave in the game. I think that when you're teaching people the game, you're going to want to play without this. Because, I mean, great, if they're like a really heavy gamer, they've played tons of deck builders, they've played through all the clanks, like, yeah, throw them in head on. But if they're earlier on, if you're using it as more of an intro game, then I definitely would leave this expansion out for at least their first playthrough to let them get the hang of how the game works.
It's definitely a little heavier for an intro game. Like, El Dorado as the base game was definitely intro-y enough that I felt like this could be a deck builder that you just pull off the shelf. Nobody's ever played a deck builder. They'll understand this one because it is straightforward. You're using your cards to either purchase with or move with, and that's it. There's no like, oh, well, which one's the best value for victory points? There's none of that kind of balancing things like that. And here, same thing. You're still racing the end. It's just now there's more obstacles. You're getting cursed. But there's also those heroes that can help you along the way.
I definitely think you guys should pick up a copy of this expansion if you like El Dorado. I think you should pick up both of these. We're going to have purchase links down below because we really did enjoy this game a lot.
While you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.